Hello everyone, Trophy Wine Hunter. Welcome back to my Alsace wine journey. And today we're going to discover the wines of Schoenheitz Vins Alsace, which is again brought to you part of my Millesimes Alsace Digitasting, brought to you by Vins D'Alsace. The story of Schoenheitz Winery is the story of resilience. So they have a history of wine growing. Their family has a history of wine growing since the 1600s in Austria. Every time they've had a successful winery, it's been pillaged or it's been burnt down through world wars. So they had to restart. So in the 70s, Henri Schoenheitz Sr. Undertook to kind of give birth to a winery that they had owned in the past called Wihr-au-Val. And so he did that and then started replanting the whole thing. They're located in the Munster Valley, which is right next to the Vosges Mountains, very hilly, granite, the hardest place to grow grapes. But through that, they get great expressions of grape. So the whole hillside, which is very steep, had to be replanted. He did that, and now has been, since the 80s, has been kind of run by Henri Jr., which is, he's pictured here with his wife Dominique. In 2014, their son Adrian joined them. So when they started in the 80s, Henri Jr. and Dominique were both just fresh graduates from oenology and viticulture schools. They did everything just as an experiment. They were young vintners, they're independent, they did everything sustainably, they do it the right way. They are, again, high environmental value. Winemakers play this down, but I think they don't actually realize, because almost everyone in Alsace is either organic or HEV, and it's they play it down, but it's actually really important because it's not only the soil but the environment. And if everything around you is in harmony, you probably make better wines, and you probably have better climate, and you probably have better soils. The first one I'm going to try is a Riesling from Lisenberg, 2017. Very steep slopes, southern exposure. They have vines from 20 to 25 years. The soil is both stony and granite, so very difficult conditions, but that brings out the best in the grape. They only produce 350 cases of this wine. And all these wines that we're going to taste are from their exclusive or single vineyard or Ludit wines. The next wine in tasting is from Wihr-au-Val, 2018. I had a terrible time in the tasting, you'll see with this name, but it's their really old vines, 40 to 50 years. This is completely granite, so very high elevation, very steep, very what you call, not terrible soil, but terrible soil in terms of, it's not what we consider soil, but more like granite. So very rich in minerals, and again, their oldest kind of vines make this wine. Next wine we're going to taste is their Pinot Blanc 2019 from Val Saint Gregor. Interesting, because it's actually made, this wine is made by 100% Pinot Auxerrois, not Pinot Blanc. But in Alsace, they treat Pinot Blanc and Pinot Auxerrois as the same grape. So even if labeled Pinot Blanc, it's actually, a lot of wines are Pinot Auxerrois. And probably why they don't label it Pinot Auxerrois, because no one knows, at least in North America, what Pinot Auxerrois is. We know in BC, but it's a very atypical grape. So anyways, this is, again, on granite, not as old, 20 to 30 year vines, and not as sloping. So it's, I guess, lower down on the slope. And the last one we're going to have is the Pinot Noir from Saint Gregor. Again, this region is mostly known for its red wines. Again, lower on the slope. And the soil isn't granite, but more decomposed granite with some silica in it. So 35 to 35 years of age on the vines. About 200 cases of this wine is made each year. Let's get to the tasting of the wines. Again, this is not my preferred way of tasting. This is more what professionals would do, just a quick taste. I don't really think it's fair to any wine to do this. I like to drink over a very long period of time with food, without food, like I would with regular people, like regular drinking. So this is more, it's more what the experts do. And I actually don't think this is the way to do it, because this is not how we normally would drink as people, right? We wouldn't just take a little taste and then go through the wine. So anyways, we'll get through this, do our best, but it's a great opportunity for me to try these wines that many times you won't get the chance to try this many great wines in a very short period of time. So the first one we're going to do is the 2017 Lisenberg Riesling. So all of these come from their exclusive or single vineyard series. These are their little deeds, so kind of equivalent to a premier cru region in Burgundy. On the nose, very aromatic. I get the minerality. I get a tanginess, like a tangy orange, or like almost like a mango, and some minerality and some citrus elements. Good body I would expect with a Alsace Riesling. Medium acidity, even a little bit more, maybe medium plus acidity. Good citrus elements, minerality. Quite nice. Nothing wrong with this wine. Very vibrant flavors. I know all the producers don't think that HEV, or high environmental value, does anything or impacts anything to the wine. I think it actually does, quite frankly, because all the wines that I tasted from Alsace that are either organic or HEV are all very bright and very clear and precise in terms of their flavors. To me, this is 89 points. It's a good wine, and I like it. It's a good wine, for sure. The next wine is going to be the 2018 Riesling from Herenbren. I'm going to hopefully pronounce that right. Herenbren. So let's try this. It'll be interesting to taste them from different vintages. So this one, I don't think it's as acidic. I think it's much more minerally. Partly to do with probably the vineyard, partly to do with the vintage. Yeah, definitely not as much like acidity and citrus and tangy elements. Much more floral. I almost smell like white flowers, like a more floral elements. Almost a little bit of petrol, and for sure minerality again in this wine. Yeah, so a nice contrast. This one doesn't have as much citrus elements. The acidity is not as strong. It's lighter actually. I find it medium bodied, medium acidity. I find more honey elements in this wine, not as citrusy. And the minerality is not as pronounced. I like the wine also. If you ask me the choice, I'd like the first one from the 2017 from Lisenberg a bit more. So I'd rate this one 88 points. Let's go to the Pinot Blanc, which is from another region, Val Saint-Gregory, and that's, I think, more famous for its red wines, which we are going to taste. So this is from the 2019 vintage. Yeah, this one's got, again, different too. It's got the minerality, but it's got like rock, like wet rock. It's got a peppery element to it, like black pepper or spice. And again, a floral component to this also. Yeah, so this one, again, really nice. Nice and different. All these wines are quite different. They're very fresh. All the fruits are really distinct, concise, fresh. So I really like that about all these wines. And they all have minerality in them. Light, I would say, lighter than the Rieslings even, in terms of body. Medium acidity, or like low to medium acidity. Almost like, I want to say, like the peach pit, almost like a overripe peach. A little bit of grapefruitiness on the end. Pinot Blanc it's not going to be as vibrant probably as Riesling in terms of the flavors. I rate this wine 87 points. And then let's go to the red wine. Again, that's a little unfair to this wine because I really would want another taste of that because it probably will grow on you, but I just, that's what the problem is with tastings. I don't get to taste, I have to make a very quick impression of that, and it's tough for me. I'm not a professional taster. I don't do it this way. I drink like regular consumers, and I don't go and assess wines on that basis based on 30 seconds or a minute. I assess it on over a couple of days, with and without food. And I think that's more like a consumer rating in terms of that's how consumers drink. We don't just drink for 30 seconds and then that's it, and we forget about the wine. So this is the Pinot Noir from the 2018 vintage, and it's Saint Gregor. This is pretty prototypical in terms of the smell of Alsace Pinots that I've smelled. And if you look at my other reviews, they all kind of smell very similar. They don't smell like Burgundy or North American Pinots. So they're a bit more as austere. They're not as fruit forward. I get on this one like black plums, violets. Again, not as fruit generous style as we would expect from Burgundy or North America. Almost like some roast meat on this, right? Like roast turkey, that type of thing. Good flavors. Raspberry, cherry. There is a bit of astringency and austerity at the back of this wine, at the aftertaste. And it's fairly consistent with Alsace Pinots that I've had in terms of stylistically. So they aren't what I would call the North American style or the Burgundy style. It's quite distinct of this style, and it's much more reserved in terms of the fruit content. And the aftertaste is a little bit more astringent. I give this 87 points. It's a good wine, very comparable to the Pinots that I've drank. Final thoughts on these wines. I wish I could have a full bottle of these wines and have a full tasting of these wines. Again, this is not my strong suit to taste based on a couple of sips, and it's, I think, kind of unfair to this wine. So I think I love their story. I think their wines would do very well if I had a whole bottle and if I could have them with food. To me, these wines show a lot of minerality. I love the story. I love that they are passionate about their wines, and their wines are very good, but I think they would taste better with food and with my normal tasting, I would probably give them much higher ratings. So I hope that we can get these wines here in Vancouver, because I'm dying to try these ones, buy whole bottles instead of having a couple of sips of these wines. Until next time, happy drinking.